Okay, time for some more adventuring here on Fine Music, episode 376. Murray, take it over.
Okay. I am going to continue the discussion of my 20 albums which influenced my musical taste.
Mhm.
Last week I did 6. This week I'm only going to do 2, because these two relate to each other in certain ways. And also we're going to chat about stuff too here. So, especially since we were just talking about the artist on this first album, which is Imperial Bedroom by ELVIS Costello, released in 1982, I believe. Let me check my notes here.
Oh
Yes.
man, I feel old.
uh,
That was 1982. Oh my God.
yes, actually, let's go to, oh, they just updated my Zoom and now I can't find the share screen. Let me see. Participants, share. There, oh, there it is, right where it used to be. We want to share that one. And here is the Elvis Costello discography.
Yeah,
My aim is
quite a
Yeah.
catalog.
so
Yeah.
yeah. I think he's got an even newer one that's not on here. But anyway, we're talking about Imperial Bedroom, 1982, seventh studio album.
Mhm.
And the reason we're going to talk about this and the next one is I'm going to talk about songwriting. I think Elvis Costello is one of the greatest songwriters of our era. Last week, I talked about a number of albums and bands, Television, King Crimson, Public Image Limited, whose main influence on me was in terms of music, that they were pushing the boundaries in the late 70s, early 80s, pushing the boundaries of music, of what, just what people were used to listening to, what was acceptable as pop music or at least rock music. So today I'm going to go back to the basic of things, which is songwriting. And I think out of this whole list of Elvis Costello albums, I think this one may well have the best songwriting. Now I know that's a really close call, and I'm sure other people will, argue with me about that. But I think the songwriting on this is amazing. His One of the things I like about him as a poet is his wordplay. And that kind of goes back to, in my mind, Armed Forces is that's the first Elvis Costello album I bought. And the wordplay on that is amazing, especially something like Oliver's Army that's talking about being a mercenary with like lines like, have you got yourself an occupation? If you're out of luck and out of work, we could send you to Johannesburg.
Green shirt.
But Imperial Bedroom is just full of that kind of stuff, and
Yeah.
And also like more a lot more relationship songs, that more than usual. I mean, one of the things about Armed Forces is a lot of the songs in there talk about politics as if they were love relations, but or maybe they're talking about love relations as if they're politics. But on Real Bedroom, he really gets down to things like Tears Before Bedtime, um, a lot of stuff about arguing with your spouse. Now that I think about it, various forms, I'm not sure how things were going for him. But now Elvis Costello got thrown in with the punks really early. And again, on Armed Forces, there's a song called Goon Squad, which, in my opinion, is him basically complaining about that. They threw me in the Goon Squad, and just another mummy's boy gone too rotten. And I think his ambitions were more, he wanted to be Burt Bacharach, or maybe someone like Johnny Cash. And in fact, in 1981, the year before Imperial Bedroom was put out, he released Almost Blue. Almost Blue is an album of country covers entirely. And it's a really good album. But it was kind of a surprise, especially to people like me who were thinking of him as a new wave artist or a punk. And here he comes out covering I can't think of songs like Tonight the Bottle Left Me Down and Good Year for the Roses, Honey Hush. And I think my feeling is that diving that deep into the country changed his songwriting. And it really shows on this album how he's got country influence, and he's just got like I say, a slightly different approach to the songwriting. It's less about the wordplay and more about the emotions, even though the wordplay is there. And just a quick comment, at the same time that he was doing this, Joe Jackson, who was also, a lot of people equate Joe Jackson with Elvis Costello, another young punk coming out of the British punk scene with snappy wordplay and again kind of punky pop songs. Joe Jackson recorded an album called Jump and Jive, which was mostly Louis Jordan songs. So it was all old R&B and jazz songs. And he followed that up with the album Night and Day, which may be his best album, at least as far as songwriting. So I think there's this interesting pattern that that some of the punks started looking around at other music or else going back to the stuff that really influenced them and dove into it and came out with a different approach to their songwriting.
And those are tributes, I believe.
Yeah.
Like flat out.
Yeah. And then just one quick Elvis Costello story. I have seen Elvis Costello 5 times actually by now. Every show was completely different. My first time I saw him was in '78. I wasn't a big fan of him at that point. I liked watching The Detectives, but Angels Want to Wear My Red Shoes in Allison did nothing for me. But he was playing at the campus just down the street, in their cafeteria, their
Hollywood High School.
kinda, yeah. It was but playing with the attractions, and he played maybe somewhere between 30 and 40 minutes and was
The time
done
I saw him for the first time, it was 45 minutes
off the stage.
in Long Beach. Yeah.
And for years, because he had, he was really playing up the reputation of the angry young man and was pissed off about stuff. And for years, I wondered whether that was their normal set or whether he walked off in some sort of, funk or something. The last time I saw him, which is just a couple of years ago, he mentioned that. He made this comment about our first US tour. We only played 45-minute sets because that's all the material we knew. And he said, and on a good night, we could get it down to 30. Because they really rushed through their stuff. So that is my Elvis Costello for today in songwriting. The other album, so I think it's 15, number 16 on my top 20, is this beauty. Shoot Out the Lights by Richard and Linda Thompson. Absolutely amazing album. And again, just powerful songwriting. At the time they were recording this, it's the last album he did with Linda Thompson. And in fact, they were in the process of separating while they were recording. And there's a line about Fleetwood Mac rumors that it must be great to be a songwriter who's getting divorced and you can force your ex to sing all these songs about your relationship. That's what this is in spades. I find Rumors one of the least emotional albums. It's just like overproduced, and it produced all the emotion out of the songs. This album is so emotional. Especially there's a song called Walking on a Wire that Linda sings, just about feeling like everything's falling apart. I'm walking on a wire and I'm falling. So just real powerful songs. Richard Thompson is also an absolutely amazing guitarist, both on acoustic and electric. And the solo on that song, Walking on a Wire, taught me something about how music can be constructed. Speaking of, as we were in the break, certain chemical substances having an influence on your creativity or your understanding of creativity. I was very much under the influence of certain chemical substances listening to that song, and I had a revelation. There are actually two solos on the song. And in the first solo, he's just kind of fumbling around, kind of looking for the solo, not quite finding it. It's still a good solo, but it's just not quite coherent. And then on the second solo, which closes the song, he nails the solo he was looking for the first time around. And once I realized that, I started looking for that in other music. I would say Neil Young does that in the studio version of Like a Hurricane. He's got a sort of sloppy solo to start it out, and then the second solo builds on the first solo and just does it perfectly. So just a, I don't know, little trick. I asked a guitarist friend about this, and he said, well, that's the whole point of a solo, is to build tension. You're like, oh, okay. And I guess release the tension, build and release tension. So those are number 15 and 16 in the 20 albums that influenced my feelings about music. And next week, hopefully we'll get to the final four.
Well, I want to go back to the Elvis Costello stuff. And
Okay.
I've seen Elvis Costello probably that many times. I'm not exactly sure. I'd have to really think about it, which I don't want to do right now. But one of the things about seeing an Elvis Costello concert is when he comes out and does his last number a cappella. I think that's just an incredible display of his musical ability. I don't know if you remember those or if you've seen those, but the concerts, most of the concerts that I've seen Elvis Costello, he comes out and does the last number a cappella. It's his choice. Okay. And I don't what a Good Year for the Roses was one. Stranger in the House, I think he did a cappella. And one other comment that I want to make about Elvis Costello, I have his autograph, and the situation that resulted in that is just crazy. But one of my best memories of an Elvis Costello concert was at the Arlington Theater in Santa Barbara. And I'm standing in line at the door waiting to get a ticket because I didn't buy my ticket in advance. And who's standing behind me but T-Bone Burnett?
Wow.
Which was absolutely awesome. Really a good guy, down to earth. I recognized him, which he was surprised about, I guess. But Elvis Costello, if you ever get a chance to see him live, do it. Murray will attest, I'm sure. Really worth it.
Well, I saw that first time. The second time I saw him, he was solo.
Yeah.
On guitar and piano.
Yeah.
The third time, he was opening for the Police at the Hollywood Bowl. So that was just all the big hits.
One of the times that I saw him, it was at the San Diego Community Concourse, and that was with Burt Bacharach. And to be honest, I absolutely hated that. I just hated it. It just didn't seem like Elvis Costello to me. But in retrospect, he's a musician's musician. I'm not a musician, but he is a musician's musician, and he can play whatever he wants. And you have to respect that. To me, it's really less about talent and more about the commitment to practice. And he's obviously committed to practicing his craft.
Yeah.
Whether it's songwriting or the music or whatever. And Steve Naive is awesome on piano, by the way, too. So.
Yeah, well, if we go back, okay, let's just for a second go back to this discography. And we have down, next is collaborative albums. And look, with the
all kinds of them.
Burt Bacharach, and Sophie von Otter, I know we're getting into people that I don't even know who they are.
Yeah, same here.
Blunt to Saint, The Roots. Yeah, just so yeah, he loves working with other people.
What was the name of his TV show? Remember he had a TV show for a while where he introduced musicians and played alongside them.
Here you go, quite a bit.
Yeah.
Soundtracks.
He had a TV show. It was a cable show.
Okay.
And those were always really interesting to watch. I only saw a few of them, but they're
Like
the
it.
ones that I saw were great. Along the lines of Daryl's house, but not
Okay, yeah.
at Daryl's house,
Doing like interviews and with other musicians and such.
exactly. And then playing and then doing numbers with them. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Hey, you
guess
guys
that-
ran out of gas?
We talk
Or-
about Elvis Costello all day, but
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, man.
Declan McManus.
I just bought the albums. I didn't go to any shows, but he had some really memorable songs, to say the least. One of the ones that stands out to me is Shipbuilding. You know that song?
Yep. And every day I write the
song.
book.
Yeah, that's more commercial, yeah.
Yeah, but I
And
still
then
like
in
that song.
1989, that album spiked. Interestingly enough, my son was 10 years old and he fell head over heels for that album.
wow.
Murray, did you ever go to one of the shows where he has the Wheel of Fortune?
I did not.
Oh, those are awesome. I mean, talk about something different. When he would spin the Wheel of Fortune, he'd have a bunch of songs listed on the Wheel of Fortune. You spin the wheel. He would call you up if you had the right seat number or whatever. He'd call you up by seat number, and that person would go up and spin the Wheel of Fortune, and then they'd have the choice of going sort of to the side of the stage, not completely backstage, and have a drink at the bar, or dance to the song with the musicians who were playing the song. It was just awesome.
Wow.
It was
Yeah,
awesome.
it's those. Those are
Definitely one of the most creative and talented practice people of our time. Yep.
Yep.
Agreed.
Mention of his collaborations with Paul McCartney, huh?
I don't think he didn't do an album with Paul McCartney. That's
Well, they
what's
wrote
Not
songs
yet.
together, yeah.
on the list I've got there is albums he did collaboratively. He did, yes, he did record a couple songs with McCartney, but they're
They
probably,
collaborated on songwriting, from my understanding.
yeah.
One particular album. It was Flowers in the Dirt.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Murray.
Good
Final
one.
Four next week. All you basketball fans, Final Four next week.